The rain held off for Australia Day celebrations for most of the day in Darwin, and young and old took advantage of the sunshine to celebrate all that makes this magnificent nation so great.
The shenanigans began early, and they were off. 2,500 battlers took the city on in the Australia Day fun run, chests puffed out in true Aussie pride.
What better place to live than Australia, and especially the Northern Territory?
I'm really proud to be Australian, so it's just nice to get out and have a nice healthy walk in the morning before the sun gets up.
Some were sporting the most fancy of attires.
I've won the race with the Speedos on, so I might keep the tradition going.
Others crowned for looking quite patriotic. There were cheers.
Happy Australia Day!
And there were tears. And what better way to end the day with the traditional snag? Meanwhile, the rev heads amongst us gathered for the Australia Day Ute Run. An Aussie flag was stuck to just about every ute, and there was definitely no shortage of enthusiasm down at Hidden Valley Raceway.
We love our women, and we have a sense of humour, as you said. And we're just a good country, all in all. What's not to love about Australia?
So we drink more piss than everyone else, of course.
There were a few get-ups that raised eyebrows.
It was a dare, and they didn't think they would go through it.
But we did.
And some that really didn't make much sense in this climate, but their passion for this country was nothing short of impressive. Meanwhile, Australia's family grew as we welcomed new citizens into this amazing country. In Darwin, there's a further 74 people who can now officially call Australia home.
It's a great feeling. So, whereas better place to be in Australia at the minute, especially Darwin. Made some good friends and family here, so changed me in a big, big way. So it's pretty enjoyable, yeah.
Following the ceremony, the Australian Army fired a traditional 21-gun salute at the cenotaph. Those gathered were also treated to a flyover.
For the Territorians who missed the planned events, there was plenty of other things going on in Darwin to celebrate Australia Day.
Just down here playing cricket, having a great time, having some beers.
We're just down here at the park playing some cricket, having a few drinks.
With everyone from all different parts of the world, we've got a bit of a gathering over there and having a few snags on the bar, and I'm teaching them the Australian way.
So whether you worked up a sweat, revved your engine, pledged your commitment, or simply hit the ball around in true Aussie style, today was a time for Australians, wherever they were, to reflect on what makes this land so great, because let's face it, Australia really is the best country in the world.
We are
Hannah Dawkins, 9 News.
Interstate grey skies did little to mute the colour of Australia Day festivities with a unique blend of tradition and modern-day pride. From the beach to the backyard, Sydney celebrated with the biggest entertainment lineup since the bicentenary.
It is a celebration built on tradition, and where it all started 226 years ago is still the best place to throw a party. Despite the grey skies, the dress code for the boats and their crew added the colour. We remembered the people who were here first, a smoking ceremony in the centre of the harbour, before two sports stars climbed to the top and raised the flags which represent the past and the future.
I've seen both flags being raised in this, like I said, in this historic day is quite remarkable.
And it was also very noisy. The military opened fire with a 21-gun salute before the Air Force's top guns felt the need for speed.
It's Sunday and of course it's meant to be time for rest, but we are a competitive lot, and on this our National Day it seems everyone out here is desperate to win something.
4 dolled-up ladies led the charge up the harbour in the annual ferry race. The lack of sun made it that little less inviting for competitors in the annual swim. But once in, became a splash and dash, boasting 2 well-known champions. And the competition was not just confined to the water. The wheelchair race has seen Kirk Fernley rule the streets for the past 9 years. But not today, outgunned by Britain's Olympic champ, David Weir. Back in the water, it was lunchtime. Floating barbecues with breathtaking views. The place rocking more than normal. It was enough to make you hungry.
Thank you. No beers, we're working. We'll eat the sausage. Happy Australia.
I love Australia. Love everything.
And she's not alone in this lucky country. Damien Ryan, 9 News.
Australia Day is also a chance to honour those who have gone above and beyond for their local community. This year's awards recognise the administrator and 2 property developers who helped shape Darwin into what it is today.
Most Darwin residents have shopped in the Mitchell Centre at one time or another, and that's thanks to the Randazzo family. Tony Randazzo first arrived in Australia in 1951 at the age of just 16. 4 years later, he travelled north in search of work, setting up his own business in Darwin within 12 months.
I was young, I was single, I didn't have a family to look after or anything like that, so very happy from the very first day.
And he's been here ever since, raising a family and establishing a company which has helped shape Darwin into what it is now. Today he was awarded a Medal of the Order of Australia for service to business and the Territory community, an honour that's touched him deeply.
The last figure I was thinking about. Anyway, that's very nice. I'm very pleased to receive. And thank you very much, Australia. And thank you very much, Australians, which welcome us. Sorry about this.
But Tony isn't the only Randazzo to receive an award. His brother Joe also receiving an OAM for his own work in the development of Darwin. And there are other Territorians recognised too. The administrator, Sally Thomas, honoured with the highest award, a Companion of the Order of Australia, for her service to the people of the NT, particularly through the justice system and the development of tertiary education. Joining her honour, the late Dr. Yunupingu, the Yothu Yindi frontman honoured for his passion for the advancement of education and social justice for Indigenous people.
I heard it on the radio, and I saw it on the television.
Joining the ranks as a member of the Order of Australia, Dawn Laurie, mum to the Territory's opposition leader, Delia. But in her own right, Dawn could be described as a trailblazer for Territory women and an advocate for social inclusion, becoming the first Anti-Discrimination Commissioner.
After the 12 years in Parliament, when I was first elected, so I was the only woman there, which was the end of civilisation as some people knew it. And I had to deal with those issues, and I was able to achieve quite a bit even as an independent, including setting up the parole board.
But it's not just business people and former politicians making the list, but those who risk their lives for us every day. Peter Schiller climbed through the ranks of the Territory Police Force over 20 years and is now the officer in charge of the Drug and Organised Crime Squad, the detective receiving the Australian Police Medal. And while he's faced off with some of the worst criminals we've seen in the top end, there's still some unfinished business that'll keep him in the north.
Joined the NT Police from the Australian Federal Police, mainly because I was stationed here. I hadn't caught a meter barramundi at the time, so 22 years later, the situation hasn't changed. So I'll probably just keep punching on until I get one, that's right.
Kathleen Bruin, 9 News.
Meanwhile, there are hundreds of others also named in the Australia Day honours, from rock stars to surgeons, soldiers to actors, people from all walks of life.
Honoured today, some faces you'll know. Rock singer James Rain recognised.
I'm extremely flattered. You know, I think it's an incredible surprise.
Along with actors Geoffrey Rush, Jackie Weaver and Rhonda Birchmore. For 30 years, she's been entertaining Aussies.
I just adore doing what I do.
Sports stars also figure. Golden girl Alicia Coots adding to her medal haul.
I've always wanted to represent Australia since I was 6 years old.
And the marathon man of good causes, Rob De Castella, awarded for his work with Indigenous Australians.
The harder the struggle, the greater the feeling of achievement when you do cross that finish line.
But some of the faces will be less familiar, like Dr. Sam Berkovic, recipient of our highest honour, a companion of the Order of Australia, for his groundbreaking research into epilepsy.
I'm a product of sort of World War II refugee parents. I'm a sort of first generation Australian.
And really, wherever you travel in Australia, you'll find people just quietly going about their business, creating or even preserving the legends of our land, like here at the Bradman Museum in the small township of Bowral. For 12 years, curator David Wells has maintained this sacred site for Australian cricket. Today, we said thanks.
I feel very humbled by the whole thing.
And today with his grandchildren was perfect for Professor John Overton, receiving the Order of Australia for his contribution to paediatric medicine. And you might know his proud son.
I think the thousands of kids that Dad's cared for and operated on over the years would be just as proud of him today as we are.
Early Walsh, 9 News.
Adam Goodes has marked his first day as Australian of the Year with a powerful call for action. The Indigenous footballer says we need to move forward to full recognition of the first Australians.
Premiership winner, Brownlow medalist. Now a new title for Adam Goodes.
The Australian of the Year for 2014 is Adam Goodes.
The Sydney Swan, an Indigenous campaigner, was front and centre at national celebrations, but the Australian of the Year admits he didn't always celebrate on January 26th.
Invasion Day is very much the way I used to look at it, and a lot of anger and a lot of deep heartache about it.
Now he opts for Survival Day.
It's just changing that perception about, well, let's try and move forward.
And after a career campaigning for the future, Goodes wants constitutional recognition of the past, and he has leaders on his side.
Prime Minister, Adam Goodes has mentioned he'd like to see constitutional recognition of the First People. You agree with him?
Of course I do. This has always been one of my pledges.
Today's a day where we should say, enough's enough. Let's recognise Indigenous Australians in our Constitution.
That will require support from all Australians.
The Prime Minister's first citizenship ceremony has made dozens of international guests now Australians. That means they'll be eligible to vote in a constitutional referendum. The only question, when Tony Abbott will bring on the vote.
We'll see it as soon as we can, but it's important to get it right rather than to rush it.
To have a referendum is exactly what we need, and we need everyone to agree.
Charles Croucher, 9 News.